Professor Monty. We're going to look at factoring by grouping. When do we factor by grouping? Well, typically when we have 4 or more terms. Okay, so when we have 4 or more terms, we can try factoring by grouping. All my examples today just have 4 terms, so we can get that idea, kind of make it a little simpler. So what we do is we group the terms that look factorable together, usually in pairs. Sometimes we may have to rearrange the order of the pairs. In this case, maybe not. So 2, factor the greatest common factor from each group, and then factor out the GCF from the remaining terms. And these 2 sound kind of confusing, but I think you'll know what I mean when you see how I work them out. Okay, so we're looking at these problems right here, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different terms. So the way I'm always going to try to do it is group the first 2 and the second 2 together. In this first group of 2 terms, I'm going to factor out the GCF just out of these 2. And notice x squared goes into both of those, so that has a common factor of x squared. And it leaves me, when I factor that out, x plus 3. All right, now I move to the second group. So it's a plus here. I'm going to put a plus right here. 2 is the greatest common factor. Here, I can factor out a 2. When I divide that out, it leaves me with an x plus 3. Now, here's the key part. If what I have inside the parentheses are not the same, either I'm not grouping correctly, maybe I need to reorder the terms, or it can't be factored by grouping. If this was an x plus 3 and this was, say, an x plus 5, I can't factor by grouping. It's not going to work. I can't go any further. So this time they are common. Notice that x plus 3 is what I call the greatest common factor from the remaining term. So I'm going to pull the x plus 3 out to the outside. And so think, that's gone there and it's gone there. And all I have left is that x squared plus 2. That's my remaining term. That's what I'm talking about. This is my remaining terms. That's fully factored because this can't be factored. That can't be factored nicely. That's my answer. Now notice we went from 2 to 1 because we're factoring it out. If I distribute this through, it's going to be x plus 3 times x squared. That's this. And it's going to be x plus 3 times 2. That's this. So it does work out correctly. Sometimes students want to put like an x plus 3 squared or something out here. No, it's just whatever the term is because I'm factoring it out. Okay, next problem. Same idea. First 2 and second 2. Let's see if that works. Well, 7 and the 5 don't have anything in common, but I can factor out the x squared. That's my greatest common factor there. And it leaves me with 7x minus 5. Now, another thing to watch out for, if the leading term of this group, whichever group it is, starts with a negative, factor out the negative along with the rest of the GCF. So I'm going to factor out a negative. Well, they don't have a common x, but 3 goes into both of those. So I factor out a negative 3. So notice when I divide this by negative 3, it's going to be positive 7x. And then 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. And again, 7x minus 5, 7x minus 5, that's my greatest common factor for both of these terms. I'm going to factor that out next. If I factored out maybe wrong and had that as a plus, and look at those. If these don't match, look to see if you made a mistake or if it just doesn't factor. But now I can pull that 7x minus 5 out. And again, it's gone. I'm left with x squared minus 3. And then I may look at these to see if there's something I can factor further. In this case, there's not. Okay, same idea here. Let's put a line here to separate these problems. So greatest common factor, 4x squared. Now, if you're having trouble finding the greatest common factor, go back to one of my previous videos where I show how to find the greatest common factor or factor out the greatest common factor. Each of those will help you out. So I factor out the 4x squared, it leaves me with an x here and a minus 8 here. I said minus 8, it's actually minus 2. Let's erase that. Right, because I factored out the 4 from the 8. 8 divided by 4 is obviously 2. And over here, notice there's nothing common to factor out, but I already have the x minus 2, which matches the x minus 2. Here, the trick, what I think helps students see this, is if we remember, oh, The x minus 2, I don't see a greatest common factor, but the greatest common factor is always 1. So I can put a 1 there. If nothing else goes in, 1 always does. X minus 2. And then I can do what I did before, factor out the x minus 2, and it leaves me with 4x squared plus 1. But it helps me see the 1 if I put that there as on the outside as the greatest common factor. There's my answer. And so I've factored by grouping. It's not a skill we have to do often. But when we have to do it, if we don't know how to do it, obviously we can't get to the right answer. So practice it. It'll come in handy, and you'll figure it out pretty quick.